This story is inspired by the real-life testimony of Natasha Herzig, a young American woman who was kidnapped and forced into sex trafficking, but found the strength to escape and turn her pain into purpose. Some elements have been adapted for dramatic purposes, but the essence remains true to the real events that marked her life.
Have you ever felt real fear? That fear that erases who you are, that transforms you into something else. I lived with this fear for 10 months, every day, every night. I was ripped from my life in a parking lot, thrown into a car, turned into merchandise. It wasn't on a dark street. It wasn't in a dangerous city. It was after a job interview, in a mall, in broad daylight, and nobody saw. No one imagined that this blonde, 19-year-old college girl with parents who loved her was being robbed at that very moment. Because evil doesn't scream. It whispers, it smiles, it offers an opportunity. And when you realize the trap, it's too late. I realized it too late. And I paid the price for it for 300 days. The spring of 2001 began like any other. I was 19 years old and I thought I knew exactly who I was. Natasha Herzig, college student, daughter of parents married for over 30 years, a dedicated student, volleyball player, the girl who never missed Sunday dinner. My life was normal, boring maybe, but it was mine. I had no trauma. I didn't come from a broken family. I wasn't an at-risk girl, as they like to say. I was exactly the kind of person you would never imagine this could happen to. And that's exactly why it happened. It was a sunny afternoon when it all began. I was at the mall, alone, just strolling, killing time between classes. The ambient music played softly, the smell of coffee mixed with the perfume of the shops. People passing by with bags, couples, families, nothing wrong, nothing dangerous. That's when she appeared. A woman, elegant, well-dressed, friendly smile. She stopped in front of me as if she knew me. "Hi, sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help but notice." "You're beautiful," I smiled awkwardly. Everyone likes to hear a compliment. "Thanks. Seriously. Your skin, your makeup. You do it yourself?" "Yes, I do." She smiled even wider, as if she had just struck gold. "Look, I work with a company that organizes fashion shows and events. We're always looking for girls who know how to take care of themselves, who have presence. Have you ever thought about working in that?" My heart raced a little. Work in fashion, travel, make money. Who doesn't want that at 19? I never thought about it, but it sounds interesting. It's more than interesting. We travel all over the country. Big events, good clients, and it pays very well. She took a card from her pocket. Company name, address, phone number, everything looked professional. "If you want, come by tomorrow. Just to talk, no strings attached. Who knows, maybe it's the opportunity you've been waiting for." I took the card, and that's where it all began. The next day, I went to the address, a commercial building, well located, nothing suspicious. I went up to the office and filled out a form. Name, age, phone number, address, everything normal. That's when he appeared. Tall, well-groomed, confident. "You must be Natasha. Nice to meet you. I'm the owner of the company." He shook my hand firmly. He smiled. "Melissa told me about you. She said you have potential." "Melissa?" "The woman at the mall. Thank you." I was very interested in the proposal, and it should be. We work with the best events in the country, conventions, games, corporate parties. You'll travel, see places, and earn a lot of money. He spoke with such confidence that it was impossible not to believe him. "It looks amazing. It's incredible. But we need committed girls who take it seriously, who won't give up halfway." I take things seriously. He looked at me for a second, as if he was sizing me up, I believe. "I'll send you a contract. Read it carefully. And if you want to move forward, we'll meet again to finalize the details." I left there floating, a real opportunity. A real job. I couldn't wait to tell my parents. 3 days later, I came back. This time, he arranged to meet at a restaurant. Something more informal, he said. Just to finish the paperwork. Sign the contract. And then you can start. I arrived on time. The restaurant was full. Cutlery clinked. People chattered. Waiters came and went. He was already sitting at a table in the corner. Natasha! Sit down, sit down. Do you want to order something? Just some water, thanks. He pushed some papers towards me. Here's everything. Read it, sign it, and that's it. You're part of the team. I started reading. Contract terms, clauses, technical terms. But something was strange. I can't explain what it was. Maybe the way he looked at me. Maybe the fact that Melissa wasn't there. Maybe it was just that butterflies in your stomach you get when something isn't right. I tried to ignore it, but the cold continued. Everything okay there? Any questions? No, it's all right. Lie, I wanted to get out of there fast. You know what? It's a little cold in here. Let me just get my coat from the car. He didn't say anything. He just nodded. I got up and walked to the door. The fresh air hit my face. I took a deep breath. And that's when it all fell apart. Don't know where he came from. All I know is that suddenly there was a hand on my arm, strong, tight. A black Mercedes stopped in front of me. Door open. Come in. I looked to the side. The man from the restaurant was there. But now he wasn't smiling. I said, "Come in." Something cold pressed against my back, a weapon. My body froze. My brain screamed, "Run! Scream! Do something!" But I couldn't move. He pushed me into the car. The door slammed. The car started. And everything I knew, my life, my family, my name, was left behind in that parking lot. I don't know how much time has passed. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. I just remembered shaking, trying to breathe, trying to understand what was happening. He drove in silence, his eyes fixed on the road. I wanted to ask, "Where are you taking me?" But I already knew it didn't matter. Because in that moment, sitting in the back seat of a car that smelled of cigarettes and fear, I understood something. I wasn't Natasha anymore. I was something else now. Something that could be bought, sold, broken. And worst of all, nobody knew. My parents thought I was in class. My friends thought I was fine. The world kept spinning, and I had just disappeared. Sometimes life changes in the blink of an eye. Other times, it changes in 4 steps between a door and a parking lot. I took those 4 steps thinking I was getting my coat. In fact, I was heading straight for a hell that would last 300 days. And the only thing I could think, as that car drove down streets I didn't know, was, nobody will look for me, because nobody knows I'm missing. The first 3 days were the worst, not because the pain was greater, not because the fear was more intense, but because those were the days when I still believed it would end, that someone would find me, that I would wake up and discover it had all been a horrible nightmare. On the 4th day, I understood. Nobody was coming, and that wasn't a nightmare. It was my new reality. He took me to an apartment. I don't know where. The windows had thick curtains. They were always closed. There was no clock. There was no calendar. Time simply stopped existing. He locked me in a room, empty, just a mattress on the floor. Be quiet. Don't make any noise. Don't try anything stupid. He slammed the door. I heard the key turning in the lock, and then silence. A silence so heavy it hurt. I huddled in the corner. I hugged my knees, and for the first time in 19 years, I felt a fear that has no name, the fear that you will never be you again. He returned hours later, or maybe days. I didn't know anymore. He threw some clothes in front of me. Wear this. I grabbed it. A short dress. Tight. Nothing I would normally wear. I I didn't finish the sentence. His hand came fast, strong. I fell to the ground. Blood on my lip. I didn't ask what you want. I told you to wear it. My cheek burned. My eyes stung. But I got the dress and clothes, because at that moment, I understood the first rule. Obey or suffer. He led me to a chair and made me sit down. He looked at me like someone evaluating a product. You're pretty. That's good. It's going to make me a lot of money. My stomach churned. What? You don't what? You don't understand yet? He came closer. He squatted down in front of me. His eyes were cold, empty. You're not Natasha anymore. You're not a student. You're nobody's daughter. You're merchandise. You're mine, and you'll do what I tell you. When I tell you, with whoever I tell you. Tears streamed down my face. Please, my parents, they'll look for me. He laughed. A humorless sound. Your parents won't look for anything, because you'll call them, and you'll tell them you're fine, that you got a job, that you're traveling. I will never. The second blow was stronger than the first. This time I saw stars. You will. And do you know why? He grabbed my face, squeezed it hard, because if you don't do exactly what I say, I'm going to go to your parents' house, and I'm going to kill them slowly in front of each other, and it's going to be your fault. My whole body trembled. You understood. I nodded. I could barely breathe. Great. Because tomorrow you have your first job. Work. That word never had the same meaning for me again. The next day, he put me in a car and drove for hours. We arrived at a hotel. Expensive. Nice. There was a convention going on. People in suits, badges, smiles. He took me to a room. Stay here. Someone will come. Who? He didn't answer. Just left and left me there, alone, waiting. 20 minutes later, the door opened. A man, older, wedding ring on his finger. He looked at me. He smiled. Are you Joseph's girl? I didn't answer. He closed the door behind him, and I understood. This was my new life. I won't describe what happened in that room, not because I don't remember. I remember everything, but because some things don't need to be said to be felt. What I can say is this. When that man left, I was no longer the same person who had come in. Something inside me broke, and I never managed to put the pieces back together. Joseph returned hours later. He counted the money. A lot of money, $3,000. Not bad for an hour's work. He put everything in his pocket. He didn't give me a single penny. There's more tomorrow. And the day after tomorrow too. You'll work every day. Sometimes 2-3 times a day. I looked at him. Empty. Please. Let me go, he laughed. Leave? Don't you get it yet? You have nowhere to go. No one wants a girl like you. Dirty. Used. Broken. Every word was a stab. You're mine now. And you'll be for as long as I want. The days turned into weeks. The weeks turned into months. I lost count of how many hotels, how many cities, how many men. Joseph took me all over the country. Conventions, sporting events, corporate parties. There was always demand. There was always someone willing to pay, and Joseph was always there, waiting, controlling, collecting. I was never alone. I never had a chance to run away. He knew exactly how to keep me trapped. Not with chains, not with locks, but with fear, afraid of what he would do to me. Afraid of what he would do to my family. Fear that even if I ran away, no one would believe me. Because who would believe that a girl like me, college student, good family, normal life, could be kidnapped in broad daylight? Once a week, Joseph made me call my parents. He stood by my side listening to every word. Hi, Mom. Natasha. Oh my God, daughter, where are you? Are you okay? Joseph pointed to a piece of paper with the script written on it. Everything's great, Mom. I got that job I told you about. I'm traveling a lot, but you haven't called all week. I was worried. Sorry, it's just been really busy. But I'm fine, really. Silence on the other side. Are you sure? Your voice sounds weird. I looked at Joseph. He looked back at me, and in his eyes I saw the threat. I'm sure, Mom, just tired. But it's okay. Okay, my love. Take care of yourself. We love you. I love you too. Joseph hung up the phone. Good girl. I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, Mom, help me. I've been kidnapped. I'm not okay. But I didn't say, because I believed he would carry out his threat, and I would rather die alone than take my family with me. In the 3rd month, everything changed again. Joseph called me to talk. There were other girls with him now. 3, 4, I lost count, all young, all scared. Natasha, you're doing great, better than I expected. I didn't answer. That's why I'm going to give you a promotion. Promotion. As if that were a real job. From now on, you will help me find new girls. My heart stopped. What? You heard me. You're going to do to other girls what Melissa did to you. You're going to approach them, gain their trust. Bring them to me. I'll never do that. He approached, slowly. You will. And you know why? Because every girl you bring is one less girl you have to work with. Every new girl is a day off for you. He put his hand on my shoulder. And if you don't, well, we already know what happens when you disobey. He squeezed hard. I swallowed hard. So, you're going to help me. I closed my eyes and he said the word that destroyed me inside. Try. 2 weeks later, I was at a mall, alone, free. I could have run, screamed, asked for help, but Joseph had explained the rules to me. If you try anything, I'll know. And you know what happens next. So I stayed, and I did what he told me. I saw a girl, young, alone, beautiful. I took a deep breath, and I approached. Hi. Sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help but notice. You're beautiful, she smiled. And in that smile, I saw who I was 3 months ago, innocent, full of dreams, confident. Have you ever thought about working in fashion? I brought 5 girls to Joseph, 5 lives I destroyed with my own hands. Every time I saw one of them crying, broken, lost, I hated myself a little more. But I continued, because Joseph was right. The more girls he had, the less I had to work, and in the hell I lived in. Less work meant less pain, so I did the only thing left to do. I survived. Even if it meant becoming the very thing I hated most. Sometimes, at night, lying on a mattress in yet another unfamiliar hotel, I would look at the ceiling and think, how did I get here? How did a 19-year-old girl with a normal life turn into this? Recruiter, accomplice, part of the system that destroyed her. And the answer was always the same. One step at a time. One threat at a time. One day at a time, until you forget who you were before and become the monster they want you to be. I became exactly what I hated most, and the worst part, I was good at it. There's one thing nobody tells you about hell. It's not that you get used to the pain, it's just that you learn to distribute it. And when you do that, when you pass the pain on, something inside you dies, something you can never get back. I learned this in the 4th month when I stopped being just a victim, and I became something much worse. Joseph called me bottom girl, the main one, the reliable one, the one that's been there the longest, the one he could count on. At first I hated this title, then I learned how to use it. Because being the bottom girl meant privileges, less beatings, more food, sometimes even a few hours of sleep. And in the world I lived in, that was luxury. So I did what he told me. I recruited girls, and I became good at it. Too good. I knew exactly who to look for. Girls alone in shopping, malls, parks, parking lots. Girls who seemed like dreamers, who wanted something more. Girls like me. I approached them with a smile, a compliment, an opportunity. Have you ever thought about working in fashion? And they believed because I looked trustworthy, normal, safe. I was one of them. How were they going to know I was the trap? The first girl I brought was named Ashley, 17 years old, brown hair, shy smile. She wanted to be a model. Seriously? I really can. Of course. You're perfect. I took her to Joseph, and when I saw the look in his eyes, that look of a predator who has found prey, I knew I just destroyed her life. That night, I heard her crying in the next room, screaming, begging, and I did nothing, because doing something meant dying, and I still wanted to live, even if living meant this. After Ashley, others came, each one with a name, a story, a life. I learned not to ask too many questions, not to get involved, because involvement hurt, and I already had enough pain to carry. Joseph was right about one thing. The more girls he had, the less I had to work, so I brought more and more until I lost count. How many lives have I destroyed? 5, 10, 20? I don't know, and maybe it's better that way. The girls hated me. I saw it in their eyes, the betrayal, the anger, the contempt. How can you do this? You're one of us. I never answered, because what was I gonna say? What did I do because it was this or die? That I had no choice? That every night I looked in the mirror and no longer recognized my reflection? They wouldn't understand. Nobody went, Joseph. Moved us all over the country. We never stayed in the same place for more than a week. It was always like this. Hotels, motels, short-term rental apartments, sporting, events, conventions, private parties. There was always demand. In Las Vegas, we worked during a boxing tournament. Rich men, gamblers, celebrities. They paid $5,000, $10,000 a night. Joseph was happier at these events, more relaxed. Money put him in a good mood, and when he was in a good mood, he hit less. So I was rooting for big events, not for freedom, but for the absence of pain. In Miami, I met a girl named Lisa. She was 21 years old. She had been there for 2 years, twice as much as me. We talked once, just once. Are you still thinking about running away? She looked at me like I was an idiot. Run away where? Look at us. Who will believe us? Who will want us? The police. The police. You think the police care? They'll arrest us. Or worse, send us back to him, she laughed. Without joy, there is no way out. The sooner you accept that, the better. She died 3 months later, overdose. I never knew if it was an accident or if she finally found the exit she was looking for. There was a day when Joseph took me to an event in Chicago, a luxury hotel, a corporate dinner. I was in the lobby, waiting for orders. When I saw it, a family, father, mother, 2 children, laughing, taking pictures. The mother hugged her daughter and kissed her forehead, and something inside me broke because I had a mother like that. Who hugged me? Who kissed me? Who loved me? And I would never feel that way again. I started crying right there. In the middle of the lobby, Joseph appeared from the side. Stop it, now! I tried, but the tears wouldn't stop. He grabbed me by the arm. He squeezed. You have no family. You have nothing. You only have me. Understand? I nodded, but he was wrong. I still had my family, and knowing this was worse than any beating because it meant they were alive, waiting for me, and I was never going back. In the 6th month, something changed. Joseph began teaching me the ropes of the business, how to identify clients, how to charge, how to control other girls. You're smart, Natasha, more than the others. You can go far with this, go far, as if that were a career. But I listened, I learned. because knowledge was power, and maybe, one day, I could use that power against him. One night, after a particularly difficult job, I returned to the apartment. Joseph was there, counting money, 15,000 today. "Good morning," he looked at me. "You know I take care of you, right?" I didn't answer. "I give you food, shelter, protection. Without me, you would be nothing. Protection. He kidnapped me. He beat me. He sold me, and he called it protection. I know." He smiled. "Good girl." Sometimes, late at night, when all the girls were asleep, I would stay awake, looking at the ceiling, thinking, in who I was before, who I have become, of all the girls I brought to this hell, and I ask myself, when did I stop being human? Was it the first day, when I was kidnapped? Was it at my first job, when I realized what I had become? Or was it when I recruited the first girl? When did I become part of the system that destroyed me? I didn't know the answer. All I knew was that the 19-year-old girl who got into that Mercedes no longer existed. In its place, there was something else, something broken, empty, lost, something Joseph created. There was one night when one of the new girls tried to run away. She waited for Joseph to fall asleep. She went out the window. He woke up, and he went after him. He came back 2 hours later, dragging her by the hair. He gathered us all in the room. "You will watch, and you will learn." He beat her in front of us, with his hands, with his belt, with everything he found, until she passed out, until blood covers the floor, and we stood there, still watching, because that was the lesson. Run away, and this happens. Try to be free, and you die. After that, none of us tried to escape, not because we didn't want to, but because we knew it wasn't worth it. Joseph always found it, always punished. I always won. And us? We just survived, one day at a time, one pain at a time, one humiliation at a time, until you forget there was anything different, something better. I looked at those girls, the ones I brought, the ones Joseph found, and I thought, we are invisible. We were in crowded hotels, restaurants, events, and nobody saw, no one asked, "Is this girl okay?" Because we looked normal. Makeup, nice clothes, fake smiles. No one imagined that just a few meters away from them, lives were being destroyed, that each of us was a prisoner, that every smile hid a scream. And worst of all, I became so good at pretending that sometimes I believed it myself. I believed that this was my life now, that there was no way out, that maybe Joseph was right, maybe I would be nothing without him, maybe that was the only thing I was good for. I looked at those people, families, couples, people with normal lives, and thought, you have no idea what's happening just a few feet away, and maybe it would be better that way. Because what if they knew and did nothing? That would be worse than not knowing. The 10th month was different. I don't know how to explain what changed. Maybe me. Maybe Joseph. Maybe the universe. But something was in the air, a tension, a weight as if everything was about to explode. And in New York, in the middle of another freezing winter, it exploded. Joseph took us there for a convention, big event, important clients, big money. There were 4 of us girls this time. Me, Ashley, a new girl named Monica, and Sarah. Sarah was 18 years old. She had been there for 3 weeks. He still had that look of someone who believes he's going to escape. That look, we all lose eventually. Joseph hated that look. He said it showed weakness, disobedience, and Joseph did not tolerate disobedience. We arrived at a hotel in Manhattan, biting cold. Snow on the sidewalk, people running around in thick coats. I looked at them and thought, so close, so far. We went up to the room. Joseph gave out the orders. You know what to do. Today's going to be big. Don't disappoint. He looked at Sarah. Especially you. Sarah lowered her head, but I saw it. The fear in her eyes and something else, challenge. The night began as always. Men coming and going. Money changing hands. Joseph counting, smiling. Everything normal until it wasn't anymore. It was almost 3 a.m. when I heard it. A scream coming from the next room. It wasn't an ordinary cry of pain. It was something different. Pure terror. I got up and went to the door. Ashley was already there. Eyes wide. What's going on? I don't know. Another scream. Louder. And then the sound of something hitting. Loud. Repeated. Flesh against flesh. Bone against bone. The door opened. Joseph left, breathing heavily. Sweat on his face. His hands were red. Blood. Go back to your room. Now. What did you do? He turned to me. Eyes empty. I said, go back to your room. But I didn't come back, because at that moment, for the first time in 10 months, something inside me woke up. Not courage. Not strength. Just the understanding that if I didn't do anything, someone was going to die, and I already had too much blood on my hands. I entered the room. What I saw made me forget how to breathe. Sarah was on the floor, curled up, trembling. Her face was a mass of blood and bruises, and the eye. God, the eye. It was protruding from its orbit, hanging, supported only by nerves and tissue. I covered my mouth. I tried not to vomit. Sarah, she didn't answer. She just moaned, a low sound. Animal. Broken. Joseph was behind me. She tried to rob me. She took money that wasn't hers. Lie. I knew it was a lie. Sarah would never do that. But it didn't matter. Joseph didn't need a reason. He hit whenever he wanted. Because he could. We need to get her to the hospital. Hospital? Are you crazy? And what can I say? How can I explain this? She's going to die. He shrugged. So what? There's more where that came from. Those words. Cold, empty, monstrous. There's more where that came from. As if Sarah were replaceable, disposable, as if any of us were. And in that moment, looking at him, I understood. Joseph was not human. Maybe it never was. And if I stayed there any longer, I would stop being one too. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor, next to Sarah, holding her hand. She drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes he called for his mother. Sometimes I just cried. And I stood there, helpless. Because what could I do? Call 911. Joseph would kill me, run away. He would find me, stay. Sarah would die. For the first time in months, I prayed. I don't know if I believed anyone was listening, but I prayed anyway. God, if you exist, if you care, help her. Help us, please. In the morning, Joseph returned. He looked at Sarah, still on the floor, still bleeding. Is she alive? Yes. Good. Clean her up. You'll have work to do soon. Work. He wanted her to work. Like that. She needs a hospital. Shut up, Natasha. I didn't ask for your opinion. He left, slamming the door, and I stood there, looking at Sarah, and I made a decision. This decision could kill me. I could kill my family. It could destroy everything, but I didn't care anymore. Because if I didn't do anything, I was dead too, only on the inside, and that was worse. Waited for Joseph to leave. I waited until I was sure he wouldn't be back anytime soon, and then I did the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. I picked up the room phone. My hand shook. So much I almost dropped it. I dialed a number. Any number, someone answered. Hello. My voice came out in a hoarse whisper. Please. Can you call my parents? What? Who is it? Tears streamed down my face. My name is Natasha Herzig. I've been kidnapped. There's a girl here who's going to die. Please, call the police. Call my parents. Please. Silence. For a second, I thought the person was going to hang up. But then, okay, what are their names? I don't know how much time has passed. It could be minutes, hours. I just know that suddenly there were sirens knocking on the door. Police! Open the door! I opened it, and I collapsed. 2 police officers came in. They saw Sarah. One of them spoke into the radio. Urgent words, ambulance, backup, victims. The other one crouched down in front of me. You're safe now. He won't hurt you anymore. I looked at him, and for the first time in 300 days, I believed. They took Sarah. They took all of us. The hospital was a confusion of lights and voices, doctors, nurses, questions. Who did this? How long has it been? How many of you? I answered everything, mechanically, as if I were outside my body, watching from afar. My parents arrived 6 hours later. I was in a waiting room, wrapped in a blanket. When I saw them, something inside me broke. My mother ran and hugged me. Natasha. Oh my God, Natasha. And I cried. I cried over everything that happened, for everything I have become, for everything I lost. I'm sorry. Mom, I'm so sorry. She held my face. You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing. You're back. That's all that matters. But she was wrong, because the girl who came back was not the same one who was kidnapped. This girl had died somewhere between the mall and New York, and the person in her place, I didn't know who it was. Joseph left before the police arrived. He knew. He always knew. Left everything behind. Money, clothes, us, and disappeared. Like a ghost. The police promised they would find him. But I didn't believe it. Joseph always escaped, always, and I knew that one day he would come back. I called someone, and I whispered, please call my parents. I didn't know if it was going to save me or kill me. But for the first time in 10 months, I made a choice. And that choice changed everything. Freedom is not what you think. It's not waking up without fear. It's not walking down the street without looking back. Freedom is a process. Slow, painful, incomplete. And sometimes you never really get there. I learned this in the following years. I came back home. My room was exactly as I left it. Posters on the wall, books on the shelf, graduation photo, as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I had changed. The first few days were the hardest. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Joseph. I saw the hotels, the men, Sarah's blood. I woke up screaming. My mother came running and hugged me. It's okay. You're home. You're safe, but I didn't feel safe because Joseph was still out there, and he knew where I lived. The police came several times. Questions, testimonials, photos. Can you describe him? How many other girls? Do you know the names of the clients? I answered everything I could, but it was difficult, traumatic. Every question took me back, and I didn't want to go back. 3 months later, I learned that Joseph had been arrested in Missouri for carrying false identification, but they soon discovered evidence of trafficking. One of the girls testified he was stuck for a while, but not enough because the system is flawed and men like Joseph know how to use this. 2 years later, in 2009, he was released. I found out on TV. I was watching some random program when I saw it. His face, that face that still haunted me. America's Most Wanted was looking for him. New victims, new accusations. Joseph had returned to business as if nothing had happened. They invited me to tell my story on the show. I was scared, very scared, but I agreed, because maybe this time someone would find him, and he really paid. I went to the studio, cameras, lights, producers. I sat down in the chair. I took a deep breath and I told everything. The mall, the kidnapping, the 10 months, Joseph. Every word hurt, but I said, because if I didn't say it, who would? If anyone has seen this man, please call. He is dangerous, and he will not stop. 3 days later, Joseph was arrested, Woodland Hills, California, leaving his house, a beautiful house, man, bought with the money he earned, destroying lives. The police took him away in handcuffs, and for the first time in years, I slept through the night. But the nightmare wasn't over. Joseph was arrested, but he was also released again. The system is complicated, slow, unfair, and Joseph had lawyers, good lawyers. He returned to the Bay Area, California, and it all started again. New network, new girls, new hell. It was by chance that he was caught. I was giving a talk about human trafficking, about my story. A police officer was in the audience, and he recognized Joseph from my description because Joseph was operating there. In that very city, the investigation has begun, and this time they built a solid case. It took years, years of investigation, testimonies, evidence. But finally, in 2018, Joseph went to trial and I was there. The day of the sentencing was one of the most difficult of my life. I was 36 years old, married, mother of 2 children. 17 years had passed since that day at the mall. But when I walked into that courtroom, I felt like I was 19 again. Joseph sat in front, in a suit, well-groomed, as if he were a respectable businessman. Not the monster he was. He looked at me, and he smiled, a small smile, cold, as if to say, "You're still mine." But he was wrong. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up. I walked up to the microphone. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. I've spent my entire adult life being silenced. I looked at him. Being told to shut up, to sit down, being told that it couldn't have happened to me, that I didn't look like a victim. I took a step forward. But as you well know from being here today, I never did any of those things. I learned that being silent is not being strong. It's being a victim. And a victim I am not. My voice became firmer. I am a wife, mother, sister, daughter, friend. Everything you told me I would never be. Tears streamed down my face. But I didn't stop. And all the beatings, the abuse, the manipulation, they never really worked. Because here I am, looking at you, speaking at your sentencing hearing. I tilted my head. Who has the power now? Total silence in the court. And then the judge spoke. James Vernon Joseph Jr., you have been found guilty of human trafficking, rape, assault, and numerous other charges. Break. You trafficked over 100 women. You destroyed countless lives, and you showed no remorse. Another pause. Therefore, I sentence you to 174 years in prison, without the possibility of parole until you have served one. 174 years. The room burst into applause, collapsed into the chair. Years. He would never leave again. I would never hurt anyone again. He would never have power over me again. But even with this sentence, something inside me knew the victory was not just about Joseph being imprisoned. It was about me surviving, having rebuilt my life, to have become something other than the victim he tried to create. Today, I wake up next to my husband. I kiss my children before they go to school. I run my own businesses in Tucson. A coffee shop, a restaurant, a volleyball club. I work with the police. I train officers. I help survivors. I give lectures all over the country, and I tell my story again and again and again. Because if my story can save one girl, it's worth it. Sometimes I still have nightmares, bad days, difficult times. I see a black Mercedes, and my heart races. I hear a name, Joseph, and my body freezes. But then I breathe. I remember where I am, who I am, and I continue. People ask me if I feel victorious. If I feel like I've won, and I always answer the same thing. No, I don't feel victorious, because this isn't a victory. It's a journey that never truly ends. I'm still healing. I'm still fighting. I'm still learning to live. But the difference is this. Now, I have a choice, and that choice is mine. I think about the girls, the ones I brought, the ones Joseph trafficked, in those that did not survive, and I carry them with me, always. Their stories, their pain, their lives, because they can't tell anymore. But I can, and as long as I can, I will tell. Joseph is in a prison in California. So 4 years. He's in his early 50s now. You're going to die in there. And me? I will continue living, not just surviving, but truly living. Today, I woke up. I made coffee. I hugged my family. I opened my business. I smiled at people. And for a second, I thought, is this real? Because for so long, pain was the only thing that was real. And now, joy seems strange, distant, but I accept her because I deserve it. Not because of what happened, but despite what happened. You would ask me, was it worth it? All the pain, all the suffering, all the struggle, and I would say, I don't know, because I never should have gone through this. None of us should. But since I've passed, I choose to do something with it. I choose to use my voice, my story, my survival to help other girls not go through the same thing. Or if they pass, they know there is a way out. There always is. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I see two people. The 19-year-old girl who got into that car and the 40-year-old woman who survived. They are the same person, but they are not either. And that's okay, because survival is not about going back to who you were. It's about becoming who you need to be. What about you? Have you ever needed to forgive yourself to be able to start over? Have you ever had to choose between surviving and giving up? Have you ever felt like the whole world turned its back? If so, you are not alone. And if not, be thankful and pay attention. Because around you, there are invisible people. People trapped. People suffering. And maybe, just maybe, you can be the person who sees. What a question. What a help, because we all deserve to be seen. We all deserve to be saved. Today, I woke up next to my husband, kissed my children, ran my own business. And sometimes, I still can't believe that all of this is real. But it is. And if I did it, maybe there's hope for every girl still trapped in that nightmare. Maybe there is light, even in the deepest darkness. Because if there's one thing I've learned in these 20 years, it's this. No night lasts forever, and no prison is strong enough to hold someone who refuses to give up.
This was just part of Natasha Herzig's incredible journey. Survivor, mother, businesswoman, one of the most powerful voices in the fight against human trafficking in the United States. Her story is proof that the deepest darkness can give way to the most powerful light, and that no pain is too great to be transformed into purpose. To learn all the details of her story and understand how you can help combat human trafficking, check out the first pinned comment. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and share it. Someone somewhere might need to hear this today, and remember, you never know who around you is suffering in silence. Pay attention, ask questions, help, because we all deserve to be seen.